Thank you very much. Gosh, we seem to have the Cyberman uprising here, so I'm slightly scared. So hello, my name's Nicola. I did officially used to be BT's futurologist, and I'm very relieved I no longer have the world's stupidest job title. And I've proved it's stupid because an algorithm has very clearly gone through a list of job titles and gone, that cannot be a real job title. So I've gone from being a futurologist to a urologist. I'm getting job offers. I think they're taking that. We won't go there. But anyway, so yes, my name's Nicola. To be honest, I also got really fed up of the crystal ball jokes. And to be honest, I don't need a crystal ball because I am based in this lovely place called Adastral Park. And there are some of my colleagues downstairs that are also from this lovely place called Adastral Park, also known as Martlesham. This is our main research headquarters in BT. It's just outside Ipswich. It's actually on an old RAF base where the RAF used to innovate as well, so it has a huge history of innovation around it. The one thing that we are really bad at doing in BT is telling anyone we do innovation. So part of my job is to say, did you know we do innovation? We're actually the third biggest investor in the UK around innovation, so we put an awful lot of money in it. There's 3,500 of us based at Adastral, not all doing research and innovation, but a fair few of them. And as I said, we have a booth somewhere just along there. My geography is not good, but that way, thank you. See, I've no sense of direction whatsoever. If you want to go and see one of two of the things that we're doing, the exciting things that we're doing around the AI space. Now, I'm going to indulge myself into three of my obsessions today. I'm very geeky. I love superhero movies. I love contact centers, and I love AI. So this comes completely together in this lovely talk that I like to call Botman versus SuperAgent, Rise of a New Customer Experience. And this is really a culmination of a lot of the stuff that I've been doing throughout my career in BT. I joined BT in 1990. My first project in 1990 was building a neural network for contact centers to help our guys in the contact center diagnose complex faults. Now, I keep saying there's a lot that's changed since 1990. Obviously, you know, we forgot about AI for about 10 years, and then we got really excited about it again, partially because of processing power, a lot to do with data. But I also think that we as customers, consumers, have changed a lot. And I'm a psychologist by background, so I always like to start with us, because we're the most disruptive part of innovation. It's not the technology, it's us adopting the technology. So I'm going to start with customers and how customers are starting to embrace a lot of automation in the customer experience. So we do in BT a very regular survey. It's a global survey around the world, and we ask lots of questions of customers around how their attitudes are changing towards customer experience and digital experience, and we get some really interesting data back. And I think the data that we've got at the moment, the pervading behaviours around customers, not surprising, they want an easy life. They want to be in control, and they want to have choices. And they also want really good customer experience. So we still see customer experience as genuinely a differentiator in the market, and therefore investment in it is very wise. But of course, this is an area where there is an awful lot of automation already, and that's without putting an awful lot of machine learning up front. So we've got everything in the AI and automation space, from augmenting customers to help them do things themselves, because they like that, puts them in control as long as it's easy. We've got agent-assisted conversations where we have the human and the machine working together. We, of course, have an awful lot of data about customers, so can we start to use machine learning to personalize and become proactive and then eventually predictive in terms of customer experiences? And then, of course, there's a whole load on robotic process automation, which I'm not going to go into today because it's probably the least interesting part, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to start with the personalization piece, because obviously one of the big things that has changed since the 90s is we have an awful lot more data about customers. So from that data, we can start to do a lot of things. And I think it's quite interesting. As I said, we do this survey very regularly. We've firstly seen customers' attitudes towards sharing their data change. So 2015, 2017 were the 2 years that we did the data. We published this particular piece in November last year. We can start to see that customers are saying, well, I will share my social media data. I might share my geographic location data, but I do want something back for it. And that's, I call it a me economy. So this is all about, I'm going to share my data, but I do want my life made easier. I want better offers. I want life. I want more control. I want more choice. All of those things are probably going to be the things that make me share my data in the first place. So we can go from personalized, which we're perfectly comfortable with, so that's the Amazon, the Netflix, I taught Amazon everything it knows about me, and it personalizes that experience and mediates the choice based on what everybody else that looks a bit similar to me does. Then, of course, I can go proactive. And again, we ask customers, and their attitudes have been changing around, well, tell me stuff I really want to know. This has been crystallized by lovely things like GDPR, because a lot of the conversations we've been having in the past year or so about that is, well, what data do we need on customers, and how do we get them to consent that we will use their data in a responsible way? But actually, proactivity is something that customers want. Tell me if there's fraudulent activity on my account. That kind of thing is really important for customers and is very much part of that me economy. Then, of course, we get the predictive stuff. That's where it starts to get creepy. Now, certainly retailers have got a little bit creepy. I know that one very large supermarket in the UK currently claims that it knows if you're about to get divorced. Knowing that and doing something about it are two very different questions. So I might know, but would I then send you an email or a text going, really sorry to hear you're getting divorced? Maybe subtle things like vouchers for wine, I don't know, but this is why we do need the human in the loop here. So what's the good strategy? What's appropriate? What's the right thing to do for the customer experience? Because we can use this data responsibly. If we don't use it responsibly, it's a me economy. The customer will withdraw consent. And this is really interesting in an era of the Internet of Things, which I always interpret as all of my devices talking about me behind my back. So I'm going to turn them off if there's no benefit for me. So that's what we could do with the customer personalization side. The other thing I'm interested in, how do we augment self-service? Now, we've already automated an awful lot of self-service, largely because most of us are carrying our windows on the world in our back pocket through the smartphone. So I'm less interested in the channels or the medium that we're doing this on. I'm more interested, because I'm a psychologist, in why. Why do we use the channels that we use? Now, this gives us a lot of clues as to what's appropriate to automate. So firstly, through this data, through the research that we've done previously, the interviews that we've done with customers, we see that customers typically are not omni-channel. We love to call things omni-channel. No idea what it means, but we're goal-directed actually as customers, and underlying that goal is an intention state that's either positive, negative, or neutral. We've all been there, we're excited about something. It's a holiday, we're buying a house, we'll do our research, we're willing to invest time and energy and effort into that. We call these customers visionaries. Now, they use lots of channels. They might want a human channel because they can be a bit paranoid, but largely, as long as the channels are available, don't contradict each other, they're fine as customers because they want to invest time, energy, and effort because this thing matters to them. So we can put automation in for visionaries. We might need to handhold them a little bit, but they're not bad in terms of the automation stack. The problem comes when we shift from a positively motivated customer, a visionary, to a negatively motivated customer, a customer in crisis. We've all been there, frankly. So we've got angry, we've got frustrated, we can't do what we need to do. We thought it was a digital process and we've been told to shift somewhere else. So that's where automation's quite hard. Simply because there are really weird things at an extreme of anger and frustration that happen to our brains. The big one for design is our short-term memory capacity typically halves when we're angry. So I used to design IVRs, those lovely press 1, press 2s. So let's imagine when I'm calm, I have usually between 7 and 9 bits of memory. So press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this. I'm pretty full, might be able to get one more in. That's when I'm calm. Now I'm angry. Press 1 for this, I can't remember what 2's for. So, putting automation in here can be problematic. We don't read FAQs, we need to be handheld. If we're going to put automation in, it needs to be very, very simple. Largely, these guys pick up the phone though. We do find this trend that the phone is used for the emotive stuff, and that's got a consequence for the contact center. More on that in a minute. But the utilitarian, so we're not always positive and negative, that would be exhausting. There is a neutral midpoint. These are tasks that we don't really want to do, like paying bills, buying carrots. We don't need a profound experience. We just want it to be quick and we want it to be easy. So what we can start to do is plot from a customer journey perspective where automation is suitable and where it is not suitable. And we can also look at how to signpost customers to the appropriate parts of automation. Now, if we're looking at channels, and to be honest, when in the contact center space, we obsess about channels. Now, the phone is not a growing channel. The big growth channel is chats, and that's because it's an easy channel, it's a digital first channel, and we are seeing in the past 2 years 20% growth in preference for customers actually using chat. So that's a channel we know is a very key channel for customers, and of course takes us into the discussion, the inevitable discussion on the chat bots now. I'm doing an awful lot of work on this at the moment. I think we've got some really interesting challenges in these stats. So the first thing is, back in 2015, when we asked the question about chatbots, whether it was voice assistants or simply on-chat chatbots, people were not that interested. Now we have 73% of people saying that they think that chatbots will improve the customer experience. We're kind of in a honeymoon period at the moment, and it has to be said that there are some extraordinary chatbots out there. I actually had the pleasure of going to the awards, the CogX awards last night, and my favourite bot won. Margot the wine bot won. Well done, Margot the wine bot. That actually serves a good use for me as a customer in that I'm very bad at choosing wine to go with meals. So it fulfills a really nice function. But there are also some atrociously bad chatbots out there. So, as I said, I've been working with a lot of our clients. I'm in BT Global Services, so mostly my clients are retailers, banks, airlines, and we've been working on a lot of projects around how do we integrate chatbots into customer experience, whether they're voice bots or chatbots. I think there are an awful lot of things that we've learnt. The obvious one, firstly, is they tend to work for narrow. Deep and narrow is brilliant. So that's why wine bots work, because it's deep and narrow. I think the Ask Me Anything is still very much a problem, and particularly a problem in the voice interface. I've just done a paper on voice assistants. The kind of randomness of what we say to voice assistants can be very, very problematic. And of course, the other thing that we find with chatbots, particularly within enterprise chatbots, is of course they do not work on magic. They work on data. Therein lies one of the problems, because enterprise data typically is messy. It's on multiple databases. It's inconsistent. So the first thing, a lot of the things that we've had to do with our clients so far has been, let's sort the data out first. Let's just get it stable, consistent, and accessible before we can even start to build anything on top of it. So it is garbage in, garbage out. Then what's it appropriate for? Now, I was working with a local authority in the UK at the possibility of using a bot for complaints. Now, if any of you deal with complaints, you all know, firstly, they are often very long. So how on earth do I start to pass those very long complaints into something that a machine can get its head around? So that's one problem. The second problem, particularly in the UK and Ireland and places like that, is that people, when they get to the point of complaining, often deploy sarcasm. Now, I've put a few examples up here. That's a couple of my favourites. Thank you to a particular train operating company for my free sauna this morning. Now, that could be very easily passed as a positive comment. It is, of course, not a positive comment, but I would need to be able to teach the bots, firstly, that having a sauna, well, what's a sauna? And having a sauna on a train is not necessarily a good thing. The second one is so subtle. I don't even know where to start. You know, it was so good to see your maintenance department hadn't spoilt things by making unnecessary repairs. I don't know how to pass that into something that would be interpreted. We know it's sarcasm. It's very difficult to teach a machine. I know there are some projects on sarcasm and machine learning out there. I'm very interested in them, by the way. Good luck to you, is all I can say. The other thing, of course, is the emotional content piece. We know that we can access some emotional content. We've been doing a lot for years on things like voice stress analysis, so we can start to figure out, is the customer angry? Obviously, slightly creepily, we can also use the camera in our smartphone now to potentially read facial expressions to try and, again, give the machine a clue. What are we feeling? So we can then start to maybe interpret some of that sarcasm. But again, this is creepy, potentially. So as a customer, I have every right to say, no, you're not reading my facial expression. So I keep getting a little bit frustrated that a lot of my clients are saying, hey, I want a chatbot. And I say, why do you want a chatbot? And if they answer because everybody else has got one, I get very annoyed and start asking a lot of questions. And these are typically the questions I ask. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I think the most important is, what do you want to get out of this? Do you want better customer experience? Do you want net promoter scores to go up? Do you want to free your agents' time up so that they can deal with the more important things? And I think that's one of the things that we're starting to see happen in the contact center industry. So yeah, we can do all sorts of things with automation. We can use the smartphone. This is the kind of stuff that we typically talk to clients about. Let's put the technology in appropriately, but let's also involve the humans. So one of the things that we've been looking at is the impact of this stuff on brand. So there's some wonderful stuff by George Zakadakis out there, a Greek academic that does a lot in the AI field, saying that actually your humans are genuinely the differentiator. But where do you put your investment when you're looking at an automation case? And obviously there's been a lot about pilots in the past 2 days. Yes, they're kind of redundant, but I'm not sure I'd get on a plane that didn't have a pilot, because they're the safety fallback. But I probably wouldn't put my investment in the pilots, because although we expect the pilot to be able to fly the plane in an emergency, but training them to do loop-the-loops, upskilling them does not necessarily make a huge impact on brand. Upskilling the cabin crew, though, does. So how do I automate the stuff, the faffy stuff they have to do, but then upskill and invest in the skills that actually genuinely add brand value? So we've done a number of scenarios, particularly around the contact center. I do think this is kind of the prototype for a lot of careers in the future. So we've got various scenarios and personas that we've developed, saying, well, if machines are taking the boring stuff, what are the people doing? So firstly, absolutely what MIT Sloan identified, they're going to be training the bots. They're going to be sitting alongside them. They're going to have to explain their actions, and they're going to have to make sure that they're ethical. Lots of discussions about that I've noticed in the past 2 days. And then they need to add the genuine value of the human brain, whether it's picking up where the machine failed, picking up that conversation. So a lot in the contact center space that we've been doing is, how do we not hit the dead end with the bot, but transfer skills-based routes, that conversation and the content of that conversation to the contact center. So don't make it separate, integrate it in, because again, make life simple for customers. Paula's doing complex troubleshooting, sticking the fork into the spaghetti of back-end process on behalf of the customer. Natalie is doing negotiation. We know negotiation is rules-based, but it's also social and emotional, and actually is very difficult to automate. Tony is a techie. Back in the 90s, I did a lot around, well, how do our engineers in BT diagnose faults? And you'd ask them questions and they'd take you through a lovely logical decision tree until you hit the button and then they'd go, gut feeling. Can't put that into a neural network, damn it. So again, how do we exploit the information in people's brains and help them with the automation? That's why I kind of call it, I don't like the word artificial intelligence. It's augmenting these guys with effectively the strengths of AI. So, I mean, I don't think this is a Botman versus SuperAgent kind of scenario, because it's not a rip and replace. I think the customer experience piece, as I said, is already at the bleeding edge of automation, and we're starting to see that our people are now becoming a genuine differentiator. So it's not Botman versus SuperAgent, it's Botman plus SuperAgent actually delivering exceptional customer experience, and that is definitely powered by machine learning and AI. So thank you for listening. That was a really, really, really fast skip through the research. I'm going to be on the panel later, well, next, if you want to sort of hear a little bit more. But if you are interested, get in contact. We have got lots of research behind this. And obviously go see my colleagues doing the demos in the BT booth as well. So thank you very much for listening.